Hello everybody, it's time for my first Q&A. So a couple of weeks ago I asked you for some questions for a Q&A and I was absolutely blown away by the depth of the questions. I was expecting loads of questions like, how old is Louis? Does he have a girlfriend? None of those. And some of them were so interesting that although I'll answer them here kind of in short form, I think I'm going to use some of these topics for Liz's life lessons because they're so cool. It just makes me feel like that this is our community. This is about the things that I've been talking to you about and you're engaging with me in, and it's so cool. It feels like it is really a two-way thing and we're on the same wavelength. And it's just really cool and fun. So there are quite a few about university and career, so let's get started on those. First of all, Laska N asks, I'd love to hear about your job, career, university experiences throughout life. I've just finished my bachelor's degree a while ago and I'm feeling a bit baffled at the amount of directions I can go. Jellyman Hag asks, how important do you think it is to go to university? And Denise Howes asks, did you end up with the career that you thought you'd have when asked as a child? So first of all, I think I'm going to answer the question about how important do you think it is to go to university. I think it just really depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a doctor, you have to go to university. If you want to be a lawyer, you have to go to university. But in general, I wouldn't say that everybody ought to go to university. If you're at a point where you've got your A-levels or whatever qualifications you need to get into university and you're not quite sure what to do, then in the UK and probably in other countries, but definitely in the UK, lots of people secure their place at university and then go on a gap year, maybe work for 6 months and then go travelling. Then they can get an idea of whether they want to go ahead and go to university or something else might have come up in that gap year. So with my older kids, Louis and Hilary, they both had gap years, and in fact Hilary had 2 gap years. Hilary was definite about going to university, but she did some charity work during her gap year and wanted to carry it on for her second year. And then she went to university and she did anthropology. And that kind of brings me to Laska N's question, which is about being baffled about the amount of directions you can go in. So I think the experience for Hilary doing the degree was great, but having done that degree, in order to get a job in that field, you have to have experience, so you either have to set up as a freelancer or you have to do intern work. So it doesn't automatically guarantee you a job. Now with Louis, he, from about the age of 8, wanted to be a graphic designer, and lots of you always comment about how amazing his video shooting and video editing is, and that's because that's always been his passion, to create fantastic visual content. So he did loads of kind of art things at A-level, and he got a place to do a degree in graphic design at university, but he did a gap year and he did like an internship kind of work experience at Sky TV. Then they offered him a job, and it's the kind of job that people coming out of art college with a graphic design degree would want to get. So obviously there was no point in him going ahead with the design degree, and actually at his interview he'd been worried that they would say he'd have to do an art foundation course, and they actually said with the amount of experience and his portfolio that he already had, they thought he'd be bored in his first year on the degree course. So it's really down to the individual, that's what I think. I went to university, but I only lasted a year because I'd originally kind of thought I was going to go to music college, and then I had kind of a crisis of like, what am I doing? I don't even like classical music. So I decided to go on a degree course instead, but all I could see it qualifying me for was being a teacher, and I decided at a very early age that I didn't want to be a teacher. This feels like it's going to be a very incoherent video. Anyway, Denise Howes, as I said, asked the question, did you end up with the career that you thought you'd have when asked as a child? No, is the short answer. And the IT work I do, I never imagined I'd be doing something like that. Firstly, because there weren't really computers around for a start off when I was a child. Maybe there were big mainframe computers, but certainly not PCs, personal computers. And for some reason, because I'd gone for music lessons at a very early age, I just kind of assumed I was going to grow up to be a professional violinist. Then it wasn't until my mid to late teens that I started to think, really? Do I really want to do that? So I definitely went through a crisis of kind of what direction is my life taking. I left university after a year and I did a secretarial course which horrified lots of people. Oh my goodness, you're going to be chained to a typewriter. I disagree with the women being chained to the sink or the typewriter. But at that point, computers started to come into the office, and in my first couple of years of working I had the opportunity of using computers, and then that's when I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but the next batch of questions brought up a topic that lots of people make comments on my videos. People are always saying, oh, your videos are so calming, you're so calm. And I can't believe it. My mum once said, I'm like a swan. Serene on the surface, very smooth and gliding, but paddling like mad underneath. And I think that's what I'm like. So actually inside I feel not calm. I feel very kind of like I'm thinking about stuff all the time, I'm working out how to do things. So this is what the questions are. Nav Kau, I hope that's how you pronounce it, says, how do you stay cool and calm and nice and positive like you? And then she laughs. I don't know, it mystifies me that people think I'm calming. However, I think there are some tips. There's another question, Hula Love 77, some tips on how to stay positive and calm when a family member has a health scare. So my tips are, first of all, try not to go into, it's a disaster. Just think, right, here's a problem, here's an issue, we have to work out what we're going to do in this situation. And sometimes things are so kind of, how are we going to get out of this? That it's just interesting. So I remember once I was with a kind of a boyfriend. He wasn't, yeah, it didn't last long, put it that way. He came from abroad. I'd met him at a conference and then he suddenly turned up and visited me when I was at university. He's a very impetuous person, and we went to visit some people 2 or 3 hours away from the university, and he hired a car, and then he managed to lock the car keys in the car. And I just thought, that'll be interesting to see how we solve this problem. He was ready to put his fist through the window. He was so angry, and I just thought, that is completely pointless. So I think that's what it is. Maybe I'm very calm because I just think, what on earth do you achieve by freaking out and losing your temper? No point at all. I think maybe what it is I'm a very logical person. I remember another situation where when the kids were really little, I popped around to see a friend, and I arrived to chaos and screaming. And my friend's daughter, who was the same age as Louis, I think they were about 3 at the time, was kind of like bemused and kind of acting panicky and saying, it's a nightmare, isn't it? It's a nightmare. And a pipe had burst in their loft space and there was water running down the walls. And my friend was just like screaming and this is a nightmare. And, you know, I was thinking, wow, you know, this is not helping your kids. But also I was able to say to the little girl, no, this isn't a nightmare. It's a burst pipe and there's some water running down the walls. So maybe, yeah, maybe I am calm and collected. I just take a logical approach to everything. Maybe that's what it is. And how to stay positive and calm when a family member has a health scare. We don't have control over stuff, and we don't have complete control over our health. And things happen, and how to survive is to adapt and to work out how you're going to tackle a certain thing. So yeah, and I think as well you're going to handle things better if you stay calm, don't panic, you can think more clearly. Yeah, I think I do concentrate on staying as calm as possible so that I can think straight. Ben, my husband, he's the kind of person that gets a lot done by pumping up his adrenaline. I'm the opposite. If my adrenaline is pumped up, I can't think at all. All the adrenaline goes to my muscles for the kind of flight thing, and it's all gone from my brain. So I work very hard at trying to keep my adrenaline levels down. I think that's what it is. So I think that answered that batch of questions, and also explains it to me as to why people are always talking about me seeming calm. So I've learned something.